Dennis Atkeson has always held a passion for flying. He accomplished the task which we all strive for, doing what you love and finding a way to make it into a career. My grandfather was an accountant for the Ohio University Avionics and Engineering Center. However, his passion for flying allowed him to also become involved in conducting flight tests for LRAN-C and early forms of GPS. He used his dream of flying to return to his alma mater and create a career in developing newer and safer air travel technology, predominantly throughout the 1980s. My grandfather has been around airplanes his entire life. Through the Avionics and Engineering Center at Ohio University, he was able to create a rather fascinating career. Through contractors such as the Federal Aviation Administration, NASA, and the United States military, the AEC was given grants to conduct research in the areas of new systems such as GPS, LRAN-C, and microwave landing systems. Their goal was always to continually create safer and more reliable air transportation. Although my grandfather's official title entailed the odds and ends of being an accountant, he also became involved in piloting test missions throughout the 80s. As a pilot, he had to become a master of deciphering weather patterns in order to create safe flight plans. He has said that the most important skill a pilot has to learn is constant situational awareness. He has always said that flying just isn't quite like driving, as you don't have the luxury to pull over and ask for directions. Most of his missions involved the testing of new landing systems as well as global positioning systems. Our generation has lived to see many of their benefits, as well as take them for granted, for much of the research that was accomplished during the 1980s. The 1980s ushered in the beginning of many important events, such as the Reagan era, the computer revolution, and massive military and technological advancements. Arguably, the most influential underlying events of the 1980s lie within the lasting Cold War tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War would serve as an ignition source to fuel many events such as the downing of Pan Am Flight 103, and the downing of Korean Airlines Flight 801, in which the Soviet Union fired upon a civilian cruiser over a restricted airspace, killing all passengers. This era also saw the largest peacetime military buildup in American history, as President Reagan began to initiate his Star Wars defense program. After years of struggle and negotiations, the United States can credit Reagan with winning the Cold War. My grandfather's story is rooted from an intertwining combination of these events. Coupled with the rising aircraft-related fatalities and effects from the Cold War, President Reagan began an unprecedented peacetime military buildup. This second arms race in turn led to the government funding of new research by facilities like the FAA, NASA, and the Avionics and Engineering Center, as they all embarked on a path to revolutionary achievements in global positioning. These historical events of the 1980s created the opportunity for many people, such as my grandfather, to make the seemingly impossible career shift from the accountant to the test pilot. My grandfather has always had a God-given passion to fly, but it was the 1980s historical events that made his dream possible.